Welcome to You Are What You Love, your window into the future of spirituality. We're going to talk to you about your life and the evolution of your soul while we bring alive the essence of eternal truth. So here is your host, the author of You Are What You Love, Vaishali.
Welcome to another exciting episode of You Are What You Love. I'm your hostess, Vaishali. And today, yay, it's Donna Dvorak Day. Our favorite animal communicator is with us to communicate all things fluffy and cute or scaly and covered or anything else that comes in an animal package. Welcome back, Donna. How are you, sweetheart?
Hi, Vaishali. I'm glad. I'm good. Thank you for having me back. Hello, everybody. So happy to be back again.
And I have probably 2 or 3 sessions with you every year where you talk to my kitties. And we had our first session this year, and boy, there's just the amount of information I get in a reading from you is just unbelievable.
Thank you. I mean, you asked me good questions,
Well, that's what I love about you, sweetie. And one of the things that we're, constantly trying to, bring out to people is that you have, if they have a Donna Dvorak appointment, they have access to incredible information through talking to their animal companion. And every year, I ask stuff like, because I live in hurricane country, if there's going to be a hurricane. And I started asking, I think, 2016, 15 or 16, something like that. And so far, there was just like one storm that didn't really plan out in all those years that you've been doing it for us. There was just one storm that just wasn't quite what we thought it might be. But other than that, it's been right on target. So that helps with so much of my stuff. And why the world is crazy like it is, if you want to do a session with Donna to ask your animal companions about what's coming up on the horizon for you and your family, you want to go to DonnaDvorakAnimalCommunicator.com right now and make an appointment. If you're listening to this and you've got a fur-covered companion and you'd like to ask Donna a question, you can call in at 844-390-8255. 844-390-8255. And Donna, you put out these really very informative newsletters. So tell us about your newsletter today.
Yeah. Well, my newsletter today is that what I want to talk about today at the show is actually about grief when we lose our own animal companion and how to manage it. And then also, but part of my newsletter and also is that I am going to be teaching animal communication level 1 as a workshop, kind of like an intensive boot camp workshop, because normally this level 1 expands over 6 weeks, 2 weeks a class. But this, I want to do it in 2 Saturdays for 3 hours each workshop. And so I'm super excited about it. And, because I think everybody should have this level 1 communication skill just to even talk to their own animal, especially now. And because it makes a huge difference for them. When they a little sick or they don't feel great or they want something else, people are always thinking, well, it's a special gift. And it's not a special gift. It's just a skill, just like you learn read or write, you learn to communicate with your animal, so it's a nice skill to have. So I want to encourage everybody to sign up and join me. And it's going to be, I don't have the dates here, but I think it's the last weekend of March and first Saturday of April. So.
Okay, so there's time to sign up. And do you how are we doing this? Do you have to have a Zoom app, or is it you just?
Yes, it's going to be via Zoom. And basically, I'm going to resend that part of my newsletter next week yet and stuff, because sometimes people take a while before, they set their schedule and all that. So basically, we're going to be all on Zoom, and it's going to start at 10 o'clock of Pacific time. So that's going to be 1 o'clock of Eastern time. And I have people from Europe too, and that's their 7 in the evening time for them. And I will, once you sign up, I will send you a Zoom link, and then you just click on the Zoom, and that takes you directly to our meeting on that Saturday at 10. And it's going to be great fun, because also I'm going to have my teacher, Fanzi, who is teaching the first level, my kiddie. He's already looking forward to it. He loves teaching. And so everybody gets to communicate with him, but also I will ask people who sign up to have a picture of their animal. So we're going to do exchanges, and we're going to communicate. Everybody's animals gets to communicate with us. So it's always these workshops, and the classes are great fun. And people always learn. So there is not one person who would not learn how to communicate with the animals. And maybe, not that doesn't mean they're going to just become professional and become animal communicators. They can if they practice, but at least they're going to have the skill. I always compare it to this. I say, everybody learns how to count, right? How to add up and how to do things. And it doesn't mean you're going to be some kind of Nobel Prize winning mathematician, scientist, but you will know how to balance your checkbook. And this is the same thing. You will learn how to communicate with your own animal. And that is you build a different bond with your animal. Your animal will so appreciate you being able to just ask, how are you? What is it you want? Or just animals are very, very grateful when they hear you speaking their language.
I bet. They just seem to have a lot less barriers to gratitude than people in general.
Yes. Like, for example, I want to say, and I know, my Fanzi, my cat, he had some type of an infection. So I had to take him to the vet, and he wasn't eating. He basically would not eat for a week, no drinking and no eating. So finally they put him together, but he still doesn't eat. So the vet tells me, please ask him to eat, because I don't really know what else to do with him. All his blood tests and everything comes fine. We took care of the infection, but there is nothing wrong with him. He just doesn't want to eat. So basically I would tell Fanzi, I connect with him, I say, Fanzi, you have to eat, because otherwise we're going to go to the vet again. And sure enough, as soon as I ask him, he goes and eats, because he doesn't want to go to the vet. So this is just a simple example what you yourself could do in a situation like that. You don't have to call animal communicator, try to get an appointment wherever we have time. You can just do it yourself.
Makes tremendous sense, honey.
Yeah.
Do people need to have any previous experience?
No, absolutely not. If you have previous experience and you want to kind of refresh it, sure. People are totally welcome to take it, but you don't have to have any experience at all. I taught people who would not be, this is how I would put it. People who are a little bit more spiritual feel more in ease with the animal communication, and they feel that they can do it easier, which is definitely true. And people who feel they are not so spiritual, they feel, well, we're not going to be able to do it, and I don't believe in this and stuff. But funny way, they actually do really, really good, because they approach the animal communication for what it is, like a skill. I'm going to learn how to ski, so I'm going to learn how to communicate with animals. So no, every single person can learn, and you don't have to have nothing, just the intention to learn. That's all.
And it's 2 Saturdays in a row?
Yes.
And
Saturday, I'm sorry, Vaishali, go ahead. I don't mean to.
That's okay. I was going to ask you, sweetie, what the cost is.
The cost is $180.
Oh, that's so reasonable.
You know, it's a half of price because I wanted this to I think so too. I want it really to be open to anybody because my classes online are higher because those classes are one-on-one. So you get my time focused on you only. So this is going to be a group class. So it's much more reasonably priced, you know, cheaper. And so I feel that it's a very good deal because you get 3 hours each Saturday, intensive workshop. You know, we're going to practice, we're going to do homework. So I think it's going to be a very good workshop for everybody.
I think that's outstanding, honey. And I know that the dealing with how to digest the loss, the grief, when your animal companion transitions. I know that that's been something on your plate personally, and I have to imagine your journey's probably brought a lot of things to awareness.
Yes, that's actually the reason I want to talk about it is, actually, not only my journey, but also, Vaishali, I've been dealing with so many animals crossing over. This past month, I assisted 12 animals to pass. I mean, it's just been lately, it started last year and it kind of graduates. It's really, really strange. And I mean, not strange, you know, it's kind of makes sense in a bigger picture, but a lot of animals are really transitioning. And then you have people, you know, and it was so many. So it's just, and people, of course, you know, sometimes it's unexpected, sometimes it is expected, but it doesn't make it less painful. So that was one big reason. And then, of course, second, or probably first reason that as you know, Vaishali already, of course, that I lost my cat Chert, my kitty of 21 years in November. So I'm kind of living right now what I want to talk about. And I learn a lot through this process. And I want to share it with people who are going through a similar situation, because it's just really, it's hard, you know, and there is no time limit on grief. And people, it was a painful journey, but also very interesting. And I learned and still learning a lot. So I was thinking maybe it would be good to share this.
Oh, I would love that, honey. You know, when my kitties, Miss Grace and Bliss, crossed over, I wasn't sure if I'd be ready to have animal companions again. And it was only when somebody called me and said, you know, my friend their cat had kittens in their backyard, in their, you know, back bedroom. And I know 2 of these kitties are yours. I mean, I didn't even know that I was ready to have cats again until somebody called me and said, yeah, these are your cats. Come pick them up. And that's when I was like, okay, God's telling me I can get back in the seat again. But it's very, it's a very undefined time.
Yes, it's very individual, you know, and some people, I mean, I always say never, but you're not ready when your animal crosses over. You are not ready to have another animal, not right away. And I highly don't recommend it, because there are people actually who think that because they cannot bear the emptiness, you know, especially when you only have one animal, they cannot handle the emptiness in their heart, in their house. It's very, very hard in the house, especially because that's, you know, like a piece of you is missing, really. So they go and they get another animal. But the problem is that then you're not ready, and you project on the new animal, and it's not fair to the new animal, because the new animal is not your old animal, will never be your old animal. And so the bond there is a little convoluted, and you never will get really the satisfaction or grief relief you were looking for. So that's absolutely, I don't recommend it at all. And people should not get animal until they feel ready, just like you were. You know, you were ready, because I'm sure it took like a year minimum, or maybe longer for you.
4 years.
So yeah, yes.
And I didn't know I was ready until God said, okay, you're ready now.
Yes, exactly. You feel, you know, you get the okay from the God, from the universe, you know, that you know your heart is ready to accept new being into your life.
Yeah.
So, I actually had, and this was not my client, thanks God. It was a friend of a friend. And she told me, so this lady had a dog, like a schnauzer, which was a female, and it was named Friday. And this lady loves the Friday dog. She loved him. Friday died. The next day, this lady goes to the breeder and gets exactly the same dog and names female.
I've seen people do that. Yep.
Yes. And names her Friday.
Oh my God.
Yes. How there was, I just said, I don't want to ever see this lady again. I hope I never meet her, because I would just have to, that's horrible. It is, so, and I understand she did it because she didn't want to feel the grief. She wanted to have replacement immediately, but you can never do that, adapt the animal to be replacement,
Well, you see that in relationships where someone gets divorced and a week later they're living with someone else.
Yeah, the rebound.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It never works.
No, it doesn't. And then you don't get to know who this animal is because you're not in a place to see anything other than what you're missing, your grief.
Absolutely. Church is my second. Actually, I had when I moved to States, right? And so my very first cat was this big white and tabby male cat named Little Shit. And he was amazing. And when he was 3 years old, I got Chert, who, and so they were very close and they love each other dearly. And when Little Shit passed away, he was 15. So this was like 7 years ago. 2014, 6, 7, 8 years. So Chet was devastated, right? And he didn't want, and I was not ready for anything. I didn't want any other cat. I knew maybe in the future I will get another cat, but didn't know. So, but Chet was very lonely, and he was really, he was not doing well by himself. And so 6 months later, because I just couldn't do it any sooner, I asked Chet, I said, are you ready for a new brother? Do you want, new cat? And he said, yes, I'm ready. And he told me what he wants. He wanted, because he's black, so he wanted another black kitty, and he wanted a male. And that's how I got Fanzi. And Fanzi, I picked him for Chet, really. And he also specified, because Chet was 14 in that time. And so he's an indoor-outdoor cat. So I wanted a cat who's already a little older, but not too old. So I was looking for somebody about a year and a half, up to 2 years. And I got Fancy, who was here at the time. And I remember my vet, she was saying, oh, don't get him an adult cat, get him a kitten, because they will never get along. I'm like, don't worry, I know exactly what my cat wants, right? So I did. And she couldn't believe it. And then that's how I got Fancy. And yeah, it was a great match. But then also we found out that Fancy is a walk-in of Little Shit. So, but that's another story completely. But anyway, so I understand, and true is that Fancy did mend my heart in a way, but it was really, if it would be up to me, I would not be ready that much, but it was for Chet, and then together Chet and Fancy kind of mended my heart. So, now, okay, so when I talk about the grief, I actually want to say that, and this is what I learned, and grief for animal is actually harder to process than for person, because it is not completely acknowledged by our society, and it's called the disenfranchised loss. So basically, when when you lost animal and you grieve for them, just like for a person, people do not accept it sometimes.
Right.
And a lot of people actually feel they have that experience. That I learned that from my clients too, and that it causes them to question their feelings of grief and their sanity, really. And because they feel, oh my God, I'm grieving for my dog, and it's just other people think it's strange. I have a student of mine who's a lovely girl, and she's taking the communication classes, and she was having a challenge with connecting, and she said, every time I connect, my cat comes to my meditation. And I said, well, I mean, so what does your cat want? And she said, well, I don't know, because I tried to kind of shut him out, right? And I said, how long he passed? And then she starts opening up about it a little bit, because I asked how long ago he passed, and she said 3 years ago, and she starts crying. And then we talking, and it comes out that she never really grieved for him, because every time, she just didn't allow herself to do that, because the people around her were not very supportive, and they would say, well, it's just a cat, just get over it, right?
Right.
And so she learned to hold it inside, and she didn't want to, for that to come out, but she still has it in, and it really pains her, and she just never honored that grief. And so what I would say to everybody is just, first of all, nothing should be off limits when you're grieving, and you need to talk about it regardless of what people think, and just basically allow yourself to grieve. And most importantly, surround yourself with people who understand you. And if people say, well, it's just a cat, then just say goodbye, because you're not the person I want to be around, But it's a little harder too, in way I understand my student, because she is a masseuse and she is a Reiki healer. So she deals with a lot of people, and so she cannot really bring her grief, to her work. So she learned also the necessity to shut it off or just suppress it. And then once you suppress it, you kind of learn to live with it. And I did
the habit of not dealing with it.
Yes, exactly. And I have to tell you, Ashali, and because I called you that I'm sick, right? I think because I actually did the same with Chet, because I was so devastated and I was crying so hard, but I couldn't, because he, it's not that he passed unexpectedly, but I just wasn't counting on him to pass exactly the day. And I had sessions line up, and I couldn't just cancel them, because these animals were in need and they waited for months to get that appointment. So I only took 2 days off, and when I was like really crying, and then I'm like, I cannot leave them. So I did, and actually in hindsight, it was really, I guess, not a good idea for me, because I got really, really sick physically. I got sick for 3 weeks. I had this horrible infection in my throat and in my lungs. So 2 chakras, which of course the grief is connected to, your heart and your throat, because I didn't let it out. So, and I was sick for 3 weeks physically, completely, and I knew 100% that's because of that grief, because I didn't let it out.
Can I add something about the lungs, sweetheart?
Of course.
Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine say that every organ in your body has an emotional digestive task. Different organs digest different things. Your liver has a lot to do with digesting your cognitive process, which is why when people's liver is not doing good, they have brain fog. And our heart digests joy, and our lungs digest sadness and grief and loss. And when you are not digesting sadness and grief and loss, guess where it goes?
Yeah, exactly. That is amazing. And it's 100% true. I mean, from my experience, that's exactly what happens.
Oh, honey, your textbook. You are a classic textbook case. And it happens with people too. They won't grieve over the loss of whatever was important, whether it was a relationship or a job or, something. And then they, every year I get bronchitis. Well, yeah, it's nature's way of saying you want to get rid of this load you're holding on to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The problem is that our society does not honor like grief or mourning,
They do not know that emotions are food. They do not know that they are to be digested. They are to pull from them what you need, what enhances you and makes you strong, and let go of the rest for the waste that it is, like you do when you eat your food. You don't hold on to the waste as something you might need or is useful to you. You flush it down.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
The internal organ
really,
massage that I did for many, many years is basically an emotional exorcism. So as a spiritual teacher, I do spiritual exorcisms, do those. Sometimes I do those prayers every day. And then I do physical exorcisms, getting the emotional stagnancy out of you, because the work that I do on the organs gets the organs to release that emotion. And people would get on the table and after 30 seconds, they'll just be crying, you know, or people will come to some workshop and they'll go, I don't know why I'm here. I just know I have to be here and I need to be on the table. I want you to demonstrate on me. And I'm like, fine, get on the table. And they are so ripe and so ready. And you put your hands on them and they start crying immediately.
Yes, I'm 100%, I see how that works because, it's people don't see how important it is to be detoxed and clean, physically, energetically, spiritually, all that. It's amazing.
Well, we've lived in a time under a lot of propaganda, and this kind of growth has been suppressed and stopped by the government because the government has its own mind control group and their own MK Ultra, and they want to control you, and they don't want you to realize how free your mind is and what your potential as a human being is. And that's what I love about what it is that you do, sweetheart. You model that, you live that. That is a quality of freedom nobody can take from you.
That is true. Yeah, no, it is true. It's really sad because, when we mourning somebody we love, be it an animal or person, in all cultures, they actually honor that. There was like a big thing, and you had time, you had certain symbolisms, or you had ways how to be not disturbed, and the society honored it. Like, for example, I still remember from my childhood when somebody died in the family. First of all, the immediate family would wear black, entirely black for months, for like 2-3 months, and the widow would wear it for a year. Yeah, and then we also, the family who was not very immediate, or if it's little kids, they wouldn't dress them in black, but we would get this black armband around your outside, on your clothing, and on your jacket. And so people would see immediately that you are mourning somebody, and they would be nicer. Strangers, they look at it, they see, oh, this person, they give you a little bit of a comfort, like they become nicer, but it doesn't exist, unfortunately, anymore. And in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, actually, where a lot of the animals were sacred and they were honored, the cats were sacred, and if the house cat died, the whole family shaved their eyebrows, just like there was a sign of mourning.
Oh, wow. Eyebrows don't always grow back, so that could be a real drag in a country with a lot of sunlight.
I know. It's not I want to shave my eyebrows, but at least it was a nice way to let people know that you lasted your cat, or and that you in mourning, and people give you more of support.
Well, so the Egyptians didn't have the wheel, so maybe that's why the armband didn't occur to them.
Maybe that's the case. So during this process of my grief, I actually learned also that the grief has 2 parts. The first part is the immediate, it's called the mourning, which is the external expression of grief. And that's the crying. Some people cry, some people get angry, some people drink. Some people, they hold it in. They're very stoic on surface. So it's actually very internal for everybody, and you should never judge how others experience their mourning. Just because people doesn't cry doesn't mean they are not sad.
Right.
So now the second part of the grief is bereavement, which is a state of living in grief or mourning, which is kind of where I am at now. And so basically this, and it's very, and I'm not a grief therapist, but I did have people, our clients, ask me like, what can we do to stop the pain, or how is it gonna take? And I actually did check with a grief therapist who is wonderful. And her name is Stephanie Rogers. And I would highly recommend her to anybody if they, if they need somebody like that. But it's true, there is no really formula how. It's not possible to stop the pain. It's absolutely, there is no formula on how long this grief is gonna take and how to get back to normal. It
Well,
really
wait a
doesn't
minute.
exist.
That's there's probably not a formula, but you know who Viktor Frankl is?
I'm sorry, who?
Viktor Frankl?
No.
He wrote a book. It's a classic. It should be required reading for everybody on the planet. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And if he had written it today, it would have been Humankind's Search for Meaning. It was just written at a time when people use the word man to represent humankind instead of humankind.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in Germany in the late 30s and early 40s. His entire family, he and his entire family were rounded up and sent to concentration camps.
Oh,
They
wow.
were all
Okay.
separated. He was working, he's a psychiatrist. He's working on a theory of his. His theory is
Mhm.
this. What separates human beings from every other life form is that human beings have the ability to attach a meaning to something they are going through. Animals cannot do that. Only human beings can attach a meaning to what they are going through. And we have to do that. We are built to attach a greater meaning to the challenges we're going through. God designed us that way. And if you do not exercise that spiritual muscle, if you do not do that, you will not make it. So he had this whole doctrine, this whole thesis that he had written up on. We have to attach meaning to the challenging things we go through. So imagine he's working on this. He's got an entire book written on it. He gets rounded up with his family, sent to a concentration camp, and he has the book sewn into the lining of his jacket, of his coat. When they get to the concentration camp, they want to take his coat. He's in a tug of war. No, this has something important. You can't take it. It's my life's work. When they find out there's something valuable in the garment, they wrestle it away from him. They open it up and they're like, these are just papers. This is useless. This is nothing. It's worthless. So they destroyed it. They threw it away. And he's like, my life's work. What he didn't realize is that he was entering into an environment where he was going to test his theory in a way that ethics would not ever let us do normally.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what he found is that all the people who would not attach a meaning to what they were going through died first.
That is very interesting, but it makes sense, it definitely makes sense.
He gets out of the concentration camp where he's had years to apply his theory, writes this book, Man's Search for Meaning. And there was a great story about a man who came to him and said, something must be wrong with me. My wife died about 5 years ago and I can't get over it. I just can't get over it. Something must be wrong with me. And Victor could see that he just wasn't attaching a meaning to his wife's leaving. So he said to him, what would happen if you crossed first and your wife was here? And he said, oh, she'd be going through the same thing I am. She'd be stuck in the same horrible, horrible grief, and she'd be struggling with this like I am. And Victor said, that is your meaning. You are going through this for her so she doesn't have to. And the man sat up in his chair for the first time, and he looked at Victor in the eyes and he goes, I can do that. My suffering has meaning. That's how you get over it. I'm surprised she didn't know that.
It might be, maybe that's a different, how it's worded for what I want to say. It's because we, from what I learned is that you basically incorporate the physical death of your animal into your life. And you just basically do it very gently and very slowly, and you make them. You do it such a way that you will thrive with this new relationship you create with that physical departure of your animal. If that makes sense, that you basically have to create a way, in a different way, how to, how do I say this? Okay, so you have to figure out how to move forward with them in a different way, because the bond between you in the physical body and them in the energetic body always will be there, but it's just different, and you need to kind of learn or incorporate that into your life. And this is what helps you to move forward with your grieving time. Is, and that so what that really is also that you create little ways how you connect with your animal, or how you honor your animal, like kind of like a little rituals, but rituals in a way that it's a bridge between which takes us from one way of being to another. Like if you shake somebody's hand, suddenly you're not strangers, but you're acquaintances. Like, does that make sense?
That's sweet. Yeah.
And so, and it has to be very gentle and very slow process, and everybody can do it individually, but you learn how to really honor their life, and you have to find the courage how to honor their life instead of just being so devastated over it. And so, and there is really no wrong or right way how to do these rituals, and there is many of them. And I do have some for which I've been doing for church, of course. So, and it, it is a way. It's a way. It's just a step by step in the grieving process as you moving forward to, eventually kind of accepting it. I don't know if it's the right way, but just living with it. Without the pain, which was there in the beginning. Like what I found from my clients and from me too, your animal who crossed over will come back a lot of times when people meditate. Especially when you are a spiritual person and you do your meditation, you will find out your animal will come and they will talk to you, they will be there with you. So, and a lot of times people just shut it off because it's hard. And so it happened to me, like when Chet crossover, and he was very old soul, and he was my, he helped me with my work tremendously. He was a great teacher, and all my students and clients know him because they all talk to him, and he was just very well respected, really. And so he left to teach. So it was funny because when he crossed over, I had him home for a full day, his body, because I wanted to say goodbye, and also I wanted Fonzie to say goodbye, because that's one thing which we should do when we have more than one animal in the household. You really need to let your animals say goodbye to the animal who crossed over, and if you can, to see their body, because it will give them understanding of what happened. And it's very important because from my own experience, I've never done it. When Roshi died, I didn't know any better, and so I didn't want to show his body to church because I was scared that it's going to traumatize him. But it did come, and did too. It traumatized him because he didn't know what happened to Roshi. So this time I already knew better. I was prepared. So Fonzie said goodbye to church. And it was really, I will say, it 100% works, because Fonzie is perfectly fine. He understands. He never had like a terrible episode where he was sad and he misses him, but he understands what happened. So as I was sitting with Chet's body, he wasn't, and this is maybe something gruesome, but he wasn't even cold, and already his spirit is there and talking to me, but it's talking to me not to comfort me. It tells me, hey, you really need to revise the classes you're giving online, because like when you are talking about a past life, that circle, you have to expand it. 4 classes is not enough. And so then he goes, you have to also update your website. And so he starts giving me all these. It was actually quite funny, because he was already in his teacher's mode, and really already, even though in spiritual realm, he's already been giving me pointers how to improve my work and what to do, because that's what he used to teach with me all the time, and he loved it. So that was kind of funny. And then since then, every morning when I meditate, he's there. And first it was very painful for me, because that difference between the physical body and the energetic body is huge. But my advice is just let go, so I would take a longer time in the morning, because I would cry for long period of time, and then I go back to my meditation, and then eventually I got used to him. And it's nice, it's comforting, and we created bond or different level. Even though I don't see his physical body, I can feel and see his spiritual body, and it does bring you a level of comfort. So I would encourage I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yes, it does, because it reminds you that when you die, life continues. It just continues in the spiritual world. You know what's really funny, Donna, is Swedenborg's writings. He talks about he's in the spiritual world, talking to the spirits and the angels. There's the spiritual world is like a big globe, and we're in the spiritual world, and heaven is above that and hell is below that. And that when he talks to the angels, what the angels say is, when you're in earth, you're in a physical body. When you're in the spiritual world, you're in a substantial body. Which I find interesting, because we think of the human body with its density as being, this is the substantial body. I can run into walls. I can climb mountains. I mean, this is the really dense body. The spiritual body, isn't that ether? Isn't that nothing? But no, they call that the substantial body that sustains everything.
You know what, Vaishali, and oh my God, I never heard it, but I will give you confirmations on it right now, because when Chuck died and he started coming to me in his spiritual body is massive. His energy is massive. I've never seen, it's like a giant. The cat is like a mountain. I've never seen anything like that, okay? His body is literally a mountain.
And so you're like, I get the substantial. Yeah.
Yes, I 100% get it. It makes sense, because I see him. And it was also a little, for me, it was like, wow, that's so weird. Because it was like, there is a mountain, energetic mountain, very dense, very, very dense mountain in front of me. And that is my cat. So and then I got used to him, okay, but it was very weird in the beginning. But I get it 100%. He was a small cat, it was not, but this is like, as I say, it's like a skyscraper in front of you, and not even that, it's massive mountain, huge Mount Everest sitting in front of you.
Right, it went from this cute little thing that would sit on your lap to being Denali.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You get used to it, but then it's comforting. So, but 100%, this is very interesting information which you just said, and I didn't know that, but I 100% condoned it, because this happened to me just now.
That Swedenborg stuff. I was talking to Chuck the other day, and Swedenborg came up, and I was saying, because Chuck being a psychic medium, he obviously talks to the substantive body, not the physical body, but the spiritual body. And I wanted to try something. My cousin has a severely autistic daughter. She's 10 years old and nonverbal. And Swedenborg says that her thinking is still going on in the spiritual world, that Gracie, the daughter, that her thinking is still going on, but it's going on in the spiritual world. And in the physical world, the vessel is too damaged for you to see that anything is going on. And so I had an idea that if that's true, Chuck should be able to talk to her. So I asked Chuck if he would talk to the daughter, and he did. And he said it was simple, just like connecting to somebody who'd crossed over, and he could see her and talk to her. And we had times where we'd make an appointment where Mom would be in the room and Gracie would be on the floor coloring or playing or doing something, and Chuck would be on the phone, and This way mom could check in and find out how was she feeling, how was her work at school, did anybody hurt her feelings, and she could find out what was going on because Chuck could talk to the daughter and then tell mom what was going on.
No, that's fantastic. But it makes perfect sense.
Well, it once again, I brought it up with Chuck to say, you read about Swedenborg, he tells you how the spiritual world works. And every time I've tried to apply what he says, it's 100% accurate. 100% holds water. I know, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. But it totally resonates with me. That's amazing.
And I in the future, when we're more free and we don't have the government controlling everything that we can say and do, people who do have damaged children from vaccinations will be able to communicate with them through people like Chuck, who can talk to them in the spiritual world and bridge that.
That's wonderful.
That
wonderful. Yeah, Chuck is great. I really like him. He has a great gift.
Oh, I know you'll love this, sweetheart. I sent him a little clear glass statue of a betta fish in memory of Fancy.
Oh, that is so sweet. Oh my gosh. Is this fish still alive?
No, Fancy died. When he got home from the hospital and he was stable, Fancy crossed over. But Fancy was really helpful because, when Chuck was in the hospital, we would ask you to check with his betta fish and find out how he was doing.
Yes. She really, I remember her because she was the one who was giving all the information about the dark stuff and all that.
Yeah,
so
saying he's not out of the woods yet. He needs more Maryland treatments. And so we went back to Maryland and it was, it was a great team effort.
Yeah, so she I feel she did, that was her, she did her job,
Yes.
She fulfilled her obligation and she was free to move on to some new experience.
Yes, to the next stage of evolution, which hopefully we all get. We all want that for each other.
Yes, absolutely. So, so back to this, I want to say something which is really actually important for people who lose their animal and that's the animal stuff. When the animal dies or crosses over, I don't like to say the die because it's so definite and it's just like really a change of these two different bodies. So when the animal crosses over, so there is a lot of stuff they have and people deal with it differently. So I would really, some people, and they throw everything away. And I would really caution not to do that. Even though you cannot in the beginning, you just cannot look at the balls and beds and all that. Just take it and put it somewhere where you don't see it, like to the garage or to the basement, whatever, and leave it there for a month or 2 or even 3, however, and then go back. And then you can actually see what you want to donate or throw away and what you want to keep. Because what happened to me many times that people just in the first, the stage of grief, they would just throw it all out, and then they regret it because they don't have they want to have something which belongs to their animal. So that's one thing I would really just tell you, just hold off. Because I still have my Chuck balls and his mat, and it's always gonna be here. But I'm donating his food and his medicine and everything because I know already that's not useful and I don't have any attachment to it. But then all his toys and his bed, that's still gonna stay. So and it's really actually for me, everybody's individual, but it does help me or makes me feel better. Now, one thing also I want people to understand is that if you have more than one animal, you should also think about them because they want to maybe keep something of this animal who departed. So they, especially if they were close, maybe they want their bed or they want their blanket. So it's good to find out and they give it to them. And that's how I found out that actually animals also like keepsakes. It's because when little shit passed away, I got I was getting rid of some of his toys, but the toys, I would not throw them away, but I was about to pack them and take them when I go back to visit my family in Czech Republic. They all have cats, and sometimes I would bring them toys from my cats already used, because the smell of my cat is on it, and it's more exciting for my mom's cat, because it's like a gift from my cats to hers, right? So I take this little mouse, which was this really like an ugly thing, already all used out, and I just put it away because I was about to give it. And I know it was a mouse which Little Ship played with constantly, but it didn't occur to me that Chuck might want it. Oh my God, he was looking for the mouse, and he got completely berserk, and he came to me and literally didn't even scream like at me, like, where is the mouse? Where is the mouse? I want the mouse. It's my mouse now. And he was so upset. He was just like sad, he was so upset. So I unpacked the mouse, and I gave it to him back, of course. And that he just wanted it because he loved the mouse. Since she passed away, now he took it. It was his keepsake, and he slept with it. He never he never let go of that mouse. He has had it until it fell apart completely. So that I would, yeah, I would never, I never thought about it, that they would like to have keepsakes, but because my cats were so close, he wanted it. It was like he literally, I never forget that, because I was like, whatever, he probably doesn't like it, like I didn't think about it. I was just, so this is something I would also, especially when you have animals who are very close, I would also suggest. Now, you also can create like a special box, that's a part. Now we're talking about different rituals. Like the ritual, it doesn't matter what it is, it's something what you do with the intention to honor your animal life in the physical body and the time you spend it with them. So it can be, you can create it, you can write a letter to your animal and just say goodbye and recount all the memories of your life together. You can plant a tree in the memory of your animal. You can have a painting. You can commission an artist to do a professional portrait. I actually have a wonderful friend who is a very gifted artist, and she painted She painted all my cats, but she just gave me for Christmas after Chet passed. She gave me a painting of him and Fancy together, and it's really it actually doesn't make me sad. It makes me feel good, like it makes me happy. So I that's a great way to honor your animal's life. You can make a collage of his pictures. You can have a photo. You can have a T-shirt printed with your animals on it. You can have a memory candle, which you can light. You can have a necklace made from your animal's identification tag. You can create a bracelet from your animal's collar. You can make a donation on behalf of your animal to a animal charity. You can volunteer your service to a certain animal charity for, in behalf of your animal. There is many ways you can really create this special ritual and to honor your animal's life. And every time you do this ritual, it just makes you feel more in peace. So now, one more thing which I want to share with people is that when the animal crosses, when we grieve, especially in the first stage, there is so many unwanted memories and feelings, which is good to also get out. So first, there is guilt. There is guilt that we didn't do everything what we were supposed to do for the animal, that we did too much maybe, put him through too many treatments, or the euthanasia we did too late or too early, or maybe we shouldn't euthanize him. We really try to create guilt where there is none even. I did this to myself because with Little Shit, I had guilt because I put him through treatments which I shouldn't have. And that was my guilt there, and it was valid. However, with church, I had no guilt because I was already prepared and I knew I did everything exactly how he wanted. However, I realized, and this was very interesting because I realized that when you're really grieving, when you have a self-guilt, it's easier because you can get mad at yourself, and it's like something to do. But when you don't have a guilt whatsoever, then it's like, oh my God, who I'm going to be angry at, like how am I going to process this terrible loss? I cannot even be mad at myself because it's so easy to guilt ourselves. We are so preconditioned to do that.
Yes.
So I even tried, and this is how I caught myself, because Church wanted to be cremated. That was his wish. But because here they do, they call it aquamation, which means that it's not, the body is not put through the fire, but it's actually dissolved in the water. And so I did the aquamation because that was available, and it's the same thing. You get ashes and everything. So, but then, because I had no other guilt to catch on anywhere, I was thinking, oh my God, maybe he didn't want the affirmation if he said cremation. Maybe it is not, like trying to really nitpick on everything. And then I stopped myself like saying, okay, you're really crazy, and trying to guilt yourself into something which doesn't exist. So again, I would absolutely caution people to just kind of, not to go overboard with the guilt. Like just try to really see, just know that you did everything you could, and doesn't matter, no matter what you feel that you didn't do or too much, that's how you knew to do it the best. That was your best shot at that moment, and you did your best. Now, another emotion we don't want in our system is anger, which can be at ourselves or
about a minute
at the vet. Okay. And then we have also bad memories, especially when the euthanasia didn't go well, because there is many times where actually the physical body somehow doesn't respond well to the euthanasia. So there is actually these 3 ways I would recommend how you can get rid of these unwanted feelings and unwanted memories. One of them is I call it the burning ceremony. Basically, you will need to have a pen and paper, and just about 2 hours of your time, be really quiet, have a nice environment. You will need a candle and some burning dish. And what you do is you handwrite. It has to be handwritten. In really excruciating details, you write down that memory which bothers you. You have to put every single detail, your feeling, temperature in the room where you were with your animal, your light, the light of the day, every small detail. You have to write it in one sitting, and don't give yourself more to write than like about 1 hour, hour and a half. And in the end, you just read it through it one more time, and then you will burn it on that candle. But before you burn it, you call to your animal, which just passed, and ask them to help you to release all this pain and these negative emotions. And then start burning the paper. And when you see it burning, just imagine that all the pain and the negative emotions are being pulled out of you and they disappearing. And then after it's done, just blow the candle out. So that's the burning ceremony. I haven't done it myself, but people who did it just swear by it. I did meditation to meet your animal who crossed over, and that helped me. Now, this is a guided meditation, which you need to do with somebody who is going to guide you, but that helped me 100% because it released the guilt I had putting clothes shifts through too many procedures. And I have that meditation, and I am really happy to actually, if anybody needs to do it, to, just work with them with that. Now, another one is called the heart song. And
we're at the top of the hour, hon.
I'm sorry?
We're at the top of the hour.
Okay. So heart song is next time.
Yes. But I obviously, everything that you offer is incredibly valuable, honey, and we were going to pick this thread and continue it next time we come. I want to encourage everyone to go to Donna Dvorak, animalcommunicator.com. Until we do it again next week, rock on, babies.
You've been listening to You Are What You Love with author Vaishali. To order Vaishali's book, You Are What You Love, or to schedule a private self-emergent session with Vaishali, visit youarewhatyoulove.com. Thanks for joining us, and remember, you are what you love, and you love whatever you give your attention to. So love wisely.